The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Welcome to An Open Door in the Arts. My name is Barbara Richer, and I am your host as we travel around the Capital Region, meeting amazing artists and people who support the arts and enrich our lives in so many different ways. We have a return guest today, and I'm very happy about that. The Opalka Gallery, which, if you remember, we talked about not so very long ago, opened in 2002. It's a part of the Sage Colleges located right on the Albany campus, right near Pharmacy College and Albany Med, and very nice location, beautiful trees, parking available, lovely, lovely campus to visit. And its primary focus is modern and contemporary art and design. It also has a wonderful lecture and film and concerts there. It has a lovely little stage area. It's a beautiful resource. They have a wonderful new director who's with us today. Elizabeth Greenberg came on board in 2013. She came from the Siena Colleges, where she was a curator of fine arts at Siena College. So welcome to
Thank you
again. I feel like it wasn't all that long ago that we sat here.
Well, thank you for having me back.
You're very welcome. Your spring series looks just so exciting. And we did talk a little bit about it when we first met, and I was able to see some of Kate Teal's work. Just very, very exciting artist that you will be having. So
yes,
perhaps you'd like to start with Kate and
that? Okay, so our spring show, which opens January 26th, even though that's not technically the spring, but that's how we do our seasons, and it runs through April 10th.
Okay, so we'll get to spring.
Yes, we'll get to spring. This show is actually coming to us from Western Michigan University. That's where it originated, at the Richmond Center there, under the direction of Don Desmond, who is the curator of this exhibition. And so he's actually taking one of my exhibitions from last year, a big show that we did on the artist Mike Glear, and I'm taking one of his. So we're
that's wonderful.
Yes,
so you can just swap out.
It's great.
Oh, that's
at
grand.
the same time. So
that's good.
And it allows us to, artists who have had a nice big show, for them to have it someplace else as well, because obviously, and nobody who saw it in Michigan
would have seen it. It's going to be here.
So
plus, I would think just for a second, just mounting a show is an enormous amount of work.
Yes, and expensive.
So being able to share.
Yes, and so a lot of times venues want to. Both because it's nice to have another curatorial vision sometimes, and also because we need a little break in between when you're curating back-to-back shows. It's a lot of work. You can't actually get all of that done, and so the last time I was here, we were talking about Concept to Console, which was a major exhibition for us, and so it was really perfect for me to be able to take a traveling show of this caliber at this time.
Excellent.
And then the wonderful thing is Kate is located in New York, so so she's actually here working on a wall drawing right now.
Oh, how exciting!
Very exciting. I did not know her work before. Don talked to me about it, but I've become really engaged with it, and the show is being installed right now, and as we open the work up, it's very beautiful.
Amazing.
And it's exciting because the gallery is also going to look different than it has for the past few shows. We've been using a lot of our temporary walls and pedestals and things like that, and it's going to be much more open for this. She does some very large scale work, so I think it's going to be quite dramatic when you walk into the gallery.
Now,
so
when you
exciting.
say Kate is doing a wall, I saw that on the web too, and I maybe a sort of a a picture of the wall area.
Yes.
It looked huge. And is that right on the wall, or does she do?
Yes,
how does
right
that
on the
work?
wall. It gets painted over at the end.
Oh,
So that's the
what
way
I was
wall
gonna
drawings
ask.
work.
I thought,
Yes.
that can't
yes.
be. Oh my gosh.
This is actually with every show we do, I really like to try at least one new thing. And so we haven't done a wall drawing before. So
Okay.
this is our chance to do that. And along with that, usually when you're doing a wall drawing, a lot of times artists will have some artist helpers. And so if you're doing it at a school, you often will have some student workers. So this gave the opportunity to 3 of our fine arts students to work with her. And that's been just great. And I've been excited to see that. And I think they've gotten experience that, most undergrads don't get.
That's wonderful.
And she said they've been great, so it's nice to get that feedback. So ours is not, the space in Michigan is huge. We have a nice space. Theirs is really, really big. So our wall section is slightly smaller that she's using, but it's still a pretty big wall drawing. And that's a larger scale. She's done this image as a smaller piece, and so this is a large
she's growing
scale.
it up for
Yes,
you.
yeah, and so you can recreate it on different walls. But it was interesting watching them do it and map it out because they measured it all out. I mean, it's much more you sort of think somebody will just start drawing
Take a
on the
brush and
wall,
just
but
start.
no, there was a lot of measuring and using string to go across
Wow.
the wall, and really, really interesting. So it's in charcoal and.
Well, start at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about Kate.
So Kate
And her art.
Yes. So Kate is British, but she's lived in New York City since I believe 1995. Or 97, mid 90s. She got her master's degree at Hunter, so that's why she moved. The point at which she moved to New York, and she's been there ever since.
Okay.
This show really is taking 10 years of her career. So from the early 2000s to about 2013. And this was Don Desmond from Michigan. This was kind of his jumping off point for the show. And from that, of course, themes emerged of what was affecting her, what she was looking at. And so when you look at some of the major events during that time period and right before, she was living in New York at the time of 9/11, and so that has had a profound effect on her and many other artists. So one of the things you'll see is the idea of twins, and artists have commented and reviewers have commented how they saw a lot of twins in people's work after 9/11. So she has a series of her and her husband sleeping through the night where she set up a camera and took pictures through the night. And she said they were so horrible, the images, that she actually put them away for a little while and then pulled them back out for some reason and decided there was actually something there to work from and work with. So that's a really interesting series about kind of human connection and twos and that kind of thing. So, and then the tsunami that happened, when was that? In 2008 or 9,
right
somewhere.
around, yes.
That really had a big effect on her. As she puts it, it was sort of the first time one of these major catastrophes that you were seeing so many images on social media, and she was seeing things on YouTube and videos on YouTube, and she couldn't stop watching them, but felt horrible about that
While she was watching
and
it.
horrified, and so she was really affected by these scenes of people's whole lives just floating in the water. So this idea of the inside, of the personal, just floating out for the world to see, and interior and
Her whole
exterior.
life sort of exposed.
Yes, and so these themes come out. So she has, there's several pieces in the show of windows where she paints. She's a very figurative, painter, and her technique is really wonderful. And so windows work well for that. But windows are both an invitation in and also a barrier to the outside world. And so there's a lot of that in her work, of this juxtaposition of interior, exterior, of the personal and the impersonal, of devastation, right? A tsunami and a tornado, it's devastation, and yet they're also so
And the beauty.
beautiful.
That's so
of these large waves, and so I think it's really interesting as I've come to understand her work more and then seen it in person. It's fascinating. The concept behind the work is really interesting, and then the work itself is very kind of mesmerizing. There's a peacefulness to it.
Yes.
And
yes.
also and more.
And so much
And-
more.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so
and
much
not-
more.
not
While you
just
were
website.
talking, I was thinking, because she does also have a website.
Yes.
And maybe what we can do at the end of our interview is have her website listed along
Oh,
with
that would be great.
your website.
Yes.
Because I did go to that website just to be a little bit more familiar with her. And you're right, it's so ethereal and so beautiful and so even in the even in what I'm sure was inspired from the tsunami, was so calming and lovely.
Yes.
That it's hard to pair it up with the horror of the things that happened that inspired this. But I guess what I'm saying very long-windedly is that when people come, they aren't beat over the head with devastation.
No,
they are
right.
very wrapped in the arms of some incredible beauty.
Yes, yes, which I think the best artists really
Do.
So she's really, and she talks about her work better, of course, than I do or anybody else does. And so it's great because she will be here. The reception for this show is Friday, February 5th, I believe is the date on that. And she will be speaking before that.
Actually, I think it's February 4th.
February 4th.
Friday, February 4th,
Okay,
4 to
all right.
6.
Nope, 6 to 8.
Oh, 6 to 8,
Yeah.
okay.
Let me double check this. Friday, February 4th. Yes. Okay. So the reception is 6 to 8, but at 5:15, Kate will be giving a walkthrough of the exhibition, and so I really encourage people to come to that, because hearing her talk about it and standing in front of the pieces while hearing her talk about it, I think it's hard to replace that experience.
Right.
And then again in early March, she'll be coming back for a formal artist talk, which will take on her whole career, and she's also operated her studio as a gallery in New York at times, and so I think her artist talk will, it'll be a broader subject, and so anybody who's really engaged by her work and would like to hear more about her process, I would
encourage people to go to your website then, which is very wonderful, very up to date, and these things are laid out and all
Yes.
dated there, and that way they won't miss the opening
Right.
or the lecture, or there's so much information on that website, and there are many things happening there.
Yes.
And incredible though it is, all of these things are free.
Yes, I think
And so-
everything this term is free.
Right.
So
we
try our best.
encourage you folks to go to the website, familiarize yourself with these different opportunities, and then go, because it's really the best chance to have a complete art experience.
Yes, I think so. I mean, we try hard to have a mix of different public programs. So we are continuing with our film program that we've been doing. We have 4 artist lectures, and we're also doing a collage night this term, which I'm excited about. So there's a local artist, Ira Marks, who has done these at other places, and we're bringing him in to do one. It's an art night out for adults, so it's not really a kid thing. It's like going to be on a Friday night, and you come and you collage. He brings vintage magazines, and so it's a really, I've wanted to do one for a long time, so I figured, well, let's bring it to the gallery. so I think
and
it'll be great.
that date is on your
Yes,
program too?
yes. That's
I think
that's
have
at the
it, but,
beginning of April. Let me see. I have a little cheat
Yes,
sheet here.
February 2nd.
Yeah,
6:30.
April 1st. No, collage night.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. That's
Oh, I
April
was-
1st.
okay.
It's First Friday for Albany. So that's a fun one, and 4 great artist lectures. Actually, Ira is one of the formal artist lectures. Kate will be doing hers, and then we have 2 others. Isidro Blasco, who's a really phenomenal photographer, and then Adam Frelin and I'm going to space his partner. So terrible. Barbara Nelson. Sorry, Barbara. Adam and Barbara are responsible for the Breathing Lights grant, which is a huge thing.
Tell us a
for
little
the
bit about
area.
that, because that sounded incredibly interesting as well. And then we'll go back once again to Breathe Life over Kate.
Well, I can't talk too specifically about I'm looking forward to their artist lecture as well, because to hear more about it. But basically, the Bloomberg Bloomberg Philanthropies Public Art Challenge put up money and people applied for it. And so Breathing Lights was Adam and Barbara's. Barbara's an architect, Adam's an artist, and this was to put lights in like decrepit storefronts and unused buildings.
And this was throughout Albany and
Throughout the
Rensselaer
whole.
and
I
Schenectady,
believe it's
think.
through the whole region, and they won a $1 million grant, which is pretty amazing.
That's amazing.
So I think. I don't want to misspeak on this. I think it's going up next year, that this will all sort of be taking place next year or in the fall. But again, come hear them talk about it.
Yes,
So,
yes. Tuesday, May 3rd, I think, is on here.
Yes.
Right.
So, but it's a big deal.
It sounded like a very, very big deal to be happening here in this area, for sure.
So we're excited that they're coming to do their artist lecture at Sage because, I mean, they've certainly spoken at other places before, but they haven't done, I think this is the first time in the area that they're doing, full-on lecture about it. So that's a good one to come to.
Absolutely.
And then with our film series, we have a few I always like to see if we can do some interesting collaborations, and I was approached by the New Russia Cultural Center because February, maybe you've spoken to them before, but February is Russian Culture Month in the area, I guess.
Hadn't,
so that's a
but we
new
should.
one. And so they do a number of different programs during February, I believe. They have a piano competition and other things, and so
we'll have to get them to be on the show and talk about some of the
yeah,
things
that
they're
could be
doing.
an interesting thing. So, but they approached me about possibly using Opalka to show a film, and since we have a film series, I said, well, maybe we could try to work something out, something we'd like to show, and you'd like, that's Russian, and so we're showing the Notorious Mr. Bowden. We'll have a panel discussion after, and so that's Victor Bout was, a war profiteer and arms dealer, one of the Russian arms dealer war profiteers, and so this is an interesting first-person account of his
life and what it came to.
So that'll be in February. And then Drawing on Life, which is about a group of Irish architects. We're showing on St. Patrick's Day. We thought that was an appropriate time to show it for people who don't want to go out to the bars.
Or they can go out.
Or they can go out after the movie.
Afterwards.
Yes.
And discuss it.
And then in May last year, we showed a film in conjunction with Holocaust Remembrance Day, and so that was quite successful. And so we're doing that again, in which this year it's in early May, and so that's called What Our Fathers Did, A Nazi Legacy. So it's kind of a mixed bag of films.
Actually, it's wonderful. You're all over the globe. Russia and Ireland and Germany.
Yep.
During the Holocaust.
So it's a kind of a great. We try to show films that you won't see anyplace else here. So,
but it's a great time of enrichment.
Yes.
If you go to all three of those.
Yes. Yeah. And again, the films are free. So where else can you go to free movies? So.
So I'm going back to Kate just for a minute because we do have a little bit more time, and she's going to be really live and in the flesh and right there, and we're very excited about that. She has her own gallery also in New York City.
Well, sometimes it's open and sometimes it's not.
Okay.
So it's this idea of opening up your studio and sort of running a gallery out of your studio. So I think at the moment it's not open, but in the past if she's in the middle of a big project, she doesn't do that because that takes a lot of work.
But those dates would be on her website.
Yes, if she's ever doing something like that. So her studio's in Long Island City in New York, and that was, there was kind of a wave of artists who did, and she was on the early, I think, forefront of sort of these artist-run galleries. And I've not been to one of her openings, but now the next time she does it again, I'll go.
I'm hoping I'll be there.
Yes, but I think it's an interesting way for artists to get feedback on their own work, to show other people's work, and so she has this experience both as an artist and also as curating shows as well,
supporting artists around her.
Yeah.
Her work seems, and I don't, and you'll probably be able to answer this, very large in scope most of the time. Is that true?
It's a mix, actually. I mean,
Okay.
some are very small, but yet when you walk into the gallery now, she has these two massive pieces. They are 30 feet long, I think,
Wow.
and 5 feet, and so they're by 5 feet, and so there's two of them hung on our back wall, and you walk in, and it is powerful. So you have a big tornado, and then you have this bedscape. And I was saying to her the other day when we hung them yesterday. That was a process. So we did that first. And when they went up, I'd seen smaller pictures of them, of course, but I was really struck by, they reminded me of North by Northwest and the scene of Cary Grant running in the fields, and she said that's exactly, that's it. That's not that she had thought of North by Northwest before, but she said that was the idea. This bedscape with the lines underneath are like rows in a field, and the tornado coming, and
The feeling that she was going for.
Yeah. So I think that those, you walk in and it's really quite impressive, and then with the big wall drawing, that's quite large, and then there are a couple other pieces that are 7 feet by 6 feet. They're big,
goodness, yeah.
and then you have some smaller. I mean, you have some pieces like
So
this
she works
that
in
are
smaller pieces also?
Yes, I mean she tends to paint. Her paintings tend to be on the larger side, and her drawings tend to be on the smaller side. At least what's in our show. So, so she does a mix of charcoal and also oil and acrylic. And the big pieces are actually photographic prints of smaller drawings that she's done that she recreated at a large scale, and they're just really beautiful. So,
Are there copies and things that are available? Should people just fall in love with any of these things? Are there reprints or prints of any kind?
No,
that
I
she
think you have
makes
to buy the
available?
original.
You have to buy the original. So you have to have
think
a
so.
very large home to put anything right
no,
now.
well, the smaller
Or
pieces
the smaller
are
pieces.
right.
Okay.
And you would have to contact her for that because,
Okay.
of course, the gallery doesn't. We can always put someone in touch with her, but
Very
the
good.
gallery doesn't
Very
handle
good.
sales. So, but there are some medium-sized pieces that would look very nice over a dining room table. So
Perfect
yeah.
to know. I know people always like to try and collect.
Yes.
So, and some of the pieces are so intriguing, so I would imagine to have a Kate Teal in your home would be a wonderful thing.
Yes.
Do you, maybe you can tell our audience how easy it is to find where you are and how easy it would be to come to see some of this amazing work that's being done there.
That is always a question we get. So we are right on New Scotland, across from South Lake, where South Lake comes into New Scotland. So it is, and where Academy, Academy Road is on one side of us. So if you know where Albany Academy is, or Beth Emeth on Academy Road, we're sort of right at the corner of Academy and New Scotland. Opalka sits right on New Scotland, so you see us when you drive up. There's a sign out front, and there's the entrance, the sort of obvious entrance to Sage College of Albany, and you just pull in right behind the gallery. There is a parking lot there, and there's also in front of the main administration building, which is sort of obvious because it's the one with the big columns. There's visitor parking there. So we can give people parking passes, or if they were to get a ticket, they just bring it back to us. That should never be an issue to anybody. And there's also parking always on the street, across the street at South Lake. It really is quite easy.
Wonderful. And both Kate's work and the lecture series and the lecture series and the film series are all in the same building?
Yes, all in the same building. Our lecture hall is right there. And some things, well, those all take place in the lecture hall. Then we do, we also do this thing called Pechakucha, which I can't remember if we talked about last time or not. But this short talks. We call it short talks by interesting people. So it's 20 by 20 slides, 20 seconds each, for a talk of 6 minutes and 40 seconds. And the idea is that it's to have designers and artists and anybody else share ideas that they're working on or things they're thinking about. Maybe they're not ready for the 30-minute talk or the TED Talk. So you do a PK, and they're meant to be fun. It's meant to be a networking event, a fun event. We try to always have a local brewery there. We've been very lucky.
So if there are artists out there that would like
To present, absolutely.
present
They
and
just
be involved?
contact us.
They should
yes,
call you then?
yes, because
Oh,
we're always
that's
looking for.
wonderful.
We do these, regularly, and so we're always looking.
That's wonderful. I'm so
for
glad you thought of mentioning
speakers,
that.
and everybody who comes, has a great time. So
Excellent.
it's we're the Albany. It's a licensed thing around the world, so it's in many different cities.
Oh,
it
perfect.
was originated by an architecture firm in Tokyo,
And that's called Pechakucha.
Pechakucha. And although
So
people will
all-
argue about how to say it, but
all budding artists in this area should definitely
oh, sure,
be
yeah,
giving you
present
a
their
call.
work. But also, we've had, writers and city planners and
I consider them
brewers.
artists.
And if you have a passion, you can do a PK, basically.
Excellent.
Anything that you might be passionate about or care about, you can do a PK on that.
Excellent,
So
excellent.
we had one on the Girl Scouts last
I'm
time.
so glad you mentioned that. So call and
Yes.
come and,
yeah,
and do.
Yeah, those are
That's
really
wonderful.
fun.
That's
so
wonderful.
that, I think, is at the end of February. So.
Okay. Well, I've been giving the time warning,
Oh, okay.
so I'm going to move us along just to say that all of these things are beginning now. The beginning date of Kate's is,
January 26th.
okay, and your spring session runs through,
April 10th.
okay,
And then we will be dark for a couple weeks, and then we have our BFA show, which is our graduating students from
Graduating
SAH, and that's in
students.
early May.
and people are also
Of
invited
course.
and able to come
yes.
to that
And
too.
actually, the last artist lecture is the first week of the BFA
Okay.
show.
All right, maybe we'll be back to talk about that. But I'm hoping that all of you will get over there for one of these wonderful happenings. There's so much that's going on there, and it's a wonderful little treasure. So go to the website, pick out your events, put them on your calendar, come over for free, and excuse me, and begin to support the Opalka Gallery. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.